Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Kim. I'm the host of this channel where I talk about my life with yarn, and in today's episode we're going to be having an old-fashioned knitting and crochet podcast. I'm going to share with you some of the things I've been working on. I'm going to share with you any finished objects if I have any. I'm going to talk about a couple of kits that I have, and I want to share with you this project that I started that has completely made me fall in love with knitting and crochet again. And I think if you're someone who is maybe experiencing a slight loss of knitting or crochet mojo, then this could be the project for you to get you back to your hooks and needles. And then I want to wrap things up talking about the Cozy Craft Declutter Challenge and how I think it's honestly changed my life. So grab a cup of warmth and grab a project, get cozy, and let's dive in. Also, a little housekeeping before we get started. I hope you are excited as much as I am about fall. It is right around the corner. It is starting to get fall-esque outside here in Alabama. Not necessarily as far as seasonal change, but mainly because we haven't had a lot of rain, and so all the leaves are falling, but they're just dead. But it still gives you that fall feeling when you see them floating down in the air. It's just not as magical. But that's okay. I'm hoping we get some rain soon. We need rain. It's very dusty. It's very dusty down my driveway. But it also is really still affecting my allergies. So there may be some pauses in the video where I have to stop and cough. I'm sorry. And my voice just kind of goes in and out. So I'll try to catch those and make it so you can hear me clearly. I also want to say thank you for everyone who has tagged me in videos or sent messages to me about your progress for the Cozy Craft Declutter Challenge. It's been amazing being a part of your journey, and I'm here rooting you on, and I'm so excited to see you finding joy in letting go of things and carving out more time for your own knitting and crochet. I will link the video down below if you have not seen it. And yeah, let's go and talk about works in progress. So I don't really have any finished objects to share with you this week. I just have not had time to finish anything. I've been really involved in cleaning out my closet to the point where I took everything out of my closet and then just setting the closet how I want it and only allowing the stuff that will fit in those spaces to come back in. And I want to talk about more of that at the end of the video, but I want to share my works in progress with you. Also, one of the works in progress, the thing I mentioned at the beginning, has really captivated me, and I just keep wanting to spend a lot of time doing it. The thing that I've had the most joy working on this week as far as knitting and crochet will be this, and this is a chicken boots bag. It's Harry Potter Hufflepuff, and I'm Hufflepuff. There's a cute little boo pin I put on here because it's spooky season. And this is my Hobbii Locatele Fall Knit Along month 1. So it's a 3-month knit along. I shared a whole video about it before, and I'll link that down below and in the cards above. I have my really cute little ghost needle tip there because I stopped in the middle of a row last night. I got into bed and I was knitting, and I got a couple of rows in, and in true Kim fashion lately, I've just got so tired I fell asleep when I was knitting, and so I had to put it up. I don't know if it's because I'm still trying to recover from COVID or the fact that I have like really been non-stop cleaning and decluttering in our house, because it's really the first time in several years that I've really had time to do it. But this is turning out so pretty. I love this yarn so much. So much. This is Collage Happy Halloween, I think is the color group or whatever. The colorway is the Deathly Howls. It's 420 yards, 100 grams. It's 100% superwash fine American merino wool. And the colorway is just divine. It is this really gorgeous fall colors of yellows and browns with a little bit of green. It's got a little bit of orange in there. This just makes me so happy. Love it so much. And I love how it's knitting up because with the garter, it's keeping it from having any weird pulling, and it's just blurps of joy. This is also a really fun pattern. This is the Lone Skein Shawl from Hobbii Locatelli, and the way it works is you start with a garter tab cast on, and I know a lot of people hate those. I love them. I do have a trick on how I make mine. I will make a video soon about that because it makes it really easy. But the pattern is a lot of fun, and I love how her patterns are written and how they're laid out. It has some garter stitches. It has this little bit of a lace section there, which it is kind of hard to see in this yarn, and that's a downfall of choosing a yarn that is very speckled or variegated for something that has any lace, because there is a huge possibility that you're going to lose your lace detail. But in this, I think it's more of a textural element with mine, and I like how it's working up, so I really don't care. I love the colors, and I love the fact that it just kind of gives it some more texture. There is this section here with the slip stitches. I love the texture that it's giving there. Some of mine you can't see them as much because, again, the yarn choice, but I like it, so I'm just going to roll with it. There's German short rows, and that's this big garter section. And I love me some German short rows. They are so potato chippy. It's once you start, you just kind of want to keep going, and you just zoom through that section. Like, it's the fastest thing to knit for me. They bring me a lot of joy. But I love the blurps of blue and like little greens. And I just think it's a well-balanced yarn, well-dyed yarn, a well-written pattern, and it's just a win-win project. So I've had a lot of joy knitting on that. My goal is to get this done by the end of the month, which it is the 19th, the 20th, just kidding. 1 month until my birthday, actually. Wow. And I really hope to get this done by the end of the month because I have 2 other projects picked out, and that is living in a chicken boots Hufflepuff bag. My next work in progress is this. This is my Bags by Awesome Granny bag. My little socks. So there are socks in here. And in this, I have my Pack-a-Peds Weekend Shorties. Now, this is a free pattern, and I'm going to link both patterns down below. I'm looking for the label, and it's literally in my hand. This is Pack-a-Peds. It is a 65% superwash wool, 20% fine alpaca, and 15% nylon. It's 360 yards, 400 grams, and it's the Alpaca Wool Yarn Company. I keep wanting to say Alpaca Wool. Alpaca Yarn Company. So my weekend shorties have gotten some love. They have gone from not having heels to having heels to having double gussets, and now I'm just knitting around and around and around on the feet. And I stopped in the middle of a row because I was knitting on these yesterday at the dentist's office with my boys. But I love how the color is turning out on them. It's very, very pretty. There's one of them, the back part of the heel. I love how the heel flap looks with the little slip stitches. It's happy. The front of them, on one of them I have like a bigger section of pink here, and this other one I'm going to have a bigger section of blue. I kind of like that. And so now I'm just knitting them in the round with the actual foot, and then I'll do some toe decreases. These are just travel knitting, so they don't get as much love. I did do double gusset heels on these, and you can see that there. So there's the first gusset, and then there's the second gusset. And for me, this just kind of, my heel just sits in this really well, and it kind of snugs around my heel, and it just makes it feel like a much more well-fitting sock, if that makes sense. So if you haven't tried the double gusset heel, try it and see if you like it. I'll link it down below. It's another free pattern. It's more of a recipe though, So just be mindful of that if you're really new to knitting socks. I think you'll be fine, but it might be just a little bit confusing because it's not going to be a very direct do this, do that, do that. Okay, so now I get to talk about the thing that's brought me so much joy in my works in progress, because this is a work in progress. So if you've been around the channel for a while, you may have seen these. These are my original knitting and crochet journals. So these were started when I first started knitting and crochet all the way back December the 28th, 2012, and I got my first yarn. I have made some notes in these. You can see they're kind of full of all the goodness. There's yarn labels, there's snippets of yarn, there's photos, there's some notes in here, and little blurbs about the projects. I talk about these in a previous video. I'll link it down below and above if you're interested, and I go into more detail about these. But these are falling apart. These are a hot mess. So some of these, like for real, falling apart because they're over a decade old, you know? And I didn't choose the best journals. I didn't choose something that was going to really last. These are just quick pickups at TJ Maxx. This one was cute. It says, "You have the potential to make beautiful things." So I thought that's great for a knitting and crochet journal when you're first starting out, because they have potential. But they fall apart. But they would probably, you know, I am kind of rough on my journals though. I had a bookmark. I never even noticed that. But what I've been doing is I have notes in these, and then when I also started my Ravelry, which was on January the 1st, 2013, like 3 days after I got my first yarn, I found Ravelry and I joined. And that's where I mainly have kept up with all of the information about the projects, as far as the pattern name, who made it, the yarn, and the yardage. But in these, I kind of wrote personal notes. And then I have my blog that I started right after I started knitting and crochet. So I have other information there, but I have all this information like in all these places. And this whole declutter challenge thing for me, and this is part of that, is to simplify things. And I realized that I needed a way to simplify this style of record keeping. And I love Ravelry, but Ravelry's not always going to be here. You know, it's not a guaranteed thing. And so this is my everyday carry. This is my planner that goes with me everywhere. This thing is like a child to me. And when I lose it, I do have a little bit of a freak out moment, because I'm like, where's my journal? So there's one from last month that I'm still adding some photos in, but this, I have different covers. This is a traveler style notebook, which is the size that I really love. This is an A5, so you can kind of see the difference. The Travelers is a little bit shorter as far as the width, but I just really love this size overall. And in here I have it's a chunky monkey as well. In here I have a monthly calendar. I have a vertical schedule where I color code and I keep up with where I spend my time, because that's also been very important to me. And I've used this style for the past year, and it's worked perfectly. I've used it in the past, but I didn't really know how to use it or how to set it up to work for me. And so I wasn't in this kind for a while. And then I went to Happy Planner for about a decade. And I just got tired of carrying around Happy Planner. So I came back to Traveler's Notebook for the convenience of the size. And I, with age and with journaling experience, have realized what I like and what I need to track to stay organized. And in here I also have a daily journal that I change out every couple of months, and I share snippets of photos, and it's just been a great way for me to unwind at the end of the day. and get thoughts out on paper, and also do a little bit of memory keeping so I can look back through these when I get older and see what we were doing and look at the photos that I took that day of our family or things around me and my children. And I've just really loved this whole style. So this process, though, led me also to rethink how I really set these up in the past. And some of these, when I set them up, I just kind of used one page and then I would skip the back of the page. Or I would put sometimes writing on the back, but it wouldn't be a lot. And so I really wasted a lot of space in this. And I realized that that's not what I want to do. I want to have as much of it as I can. And I want to have something, because these are so different, I want to have something where I can do like volumes. And so I have an order to them. And so I got on Facebook Marketplace stationery destash groups, and I learned about a company called Archer and Olive. And so I picked up this from a destash. And this is the same traveler's notebook size. It's like 8 or something inches tall and 4.5 inches wide. I love these because, number one, they're very well made. And I love that they have this band on them. And it keeps it closed, where these just kind of flap around like it's yelling at you. These also have a pin loop, and they have a pocket in the back so I can stick stuff in there. And I love pockets. But I've really, really enjoyed setting this up so much. So what I'm doing is I'm pulling from these, I'm pulling from Ravelry, and I'm pulling from my blog. And I'm putting and condensing all that information into one source. I'm not going to get rid of these. These are probably just going to go in the hope chest, but I'm going to write volume 1 on the side of this. And then I have another one on the way because I can see me filling these up quite fast. Because not only have I enjoyed documenting my projects, but I've been documenting the things that were happening during that project. And I think that's something that is what sparked a joy for me as far as falling back in love with knitting and crochet. So I want to show you how I'm setting this up. The first page I am leaving blank, and I put my yarn story. And I'm going to go back in and kind of briefly write my yarn story. I've shared that on the channel before. There's some in the past videos, but it has to do with my mother-in-law. And I want to talk about how I had the flu, and I sent the husband for some Theraflu, and he brought me some yarn and some hooks, and I taught myself to crochet. And so then it goes straight into projects. Let me cover this one little thing right here because it has a location on it. But this first page I've kind of set up for learning to crochet. So that weekend I did make several projects. I made a little pin cozy thing that I have to print the picture off and put right here. It's this thing right here. I made a jar cover. I made a hat for Al, and I made my son a collar for his dog. And then I journaled about them. I talked about the yarn. In this top corner, it has the hook size, it has the yarn brand, and then I put the 3 colors I used. I didn't write down the lot number because, again, it's my first time ever touching yarn. So I didn't really know what I would want to keep later on. But I did cut snippets of the yarn way back then and glued them into the original one, which is this one. So I was able to take some of that and put it in here. And then this one is my first official project, and it was a headband, and I put the start date, again, the hook size, who I made it for, the yarn, the color, and this time I did put the color code. And then I also put a little journaling about it, some photos, and I even saved the yarn label for this one, so I made sure to stick that in here. I don't know where that headband went. I think I actually donated it. But then on this page, I utilized, because I didn't have a lot of information about our notes, I did do 4 different projects on one page, but I'm saving space and I'm able to really get some photos in here. There's another photo I'm going to shrink and stick right there, which has the yarn on a swivelly thing. I can't think of what it's called right now, but it was where I was crocheting and I want to include that photo, so I left a little space and that is ready to be printed. So I'll add that in. As far as my photos, I am printing them on sticker paper. So I'm using Canva. I've determined what size I wanted them, so I've made me basically a template. And then I just put the photos in there. I wait till I get a whole sheet of paper filled, and I have the sticker paper. I print it off and I cut them out and I just stick them on. And for the yarn and the labels, I'm using adult craft glue sticks. They're in the house. I can't show you them right now, but they have worked really well, and I'm just putting a lot on there and just really rubbing the yarn in, and it's staying. I mean, it's got this band on it. I'm not going to be ripping off the yarn. I can always go back in and do another glue later on if I need to, but has done a sufficient job for me so far. But those are some more of my first projects. And look, that Red Heart yarn was only $2.99 back in 2013. So continuing on, like for instance, this one, you see there's a left off space. These are mittens that I made for my Granny BB when she turned 87. And I know I have a photo of somewhere of her either opening them or wearing them. So I'm going to find that photo, and I left a space for that. And I went ahead and put picture of BB with gloves, and I'm going to put that in there because I want this to be a record keeping of my yarn journey. And that doesn't just involve around the details of the project. It evolves around the people of the project and the emotions of the project. And that's what I want to capture, because that's what I want to be able to relive and remember when I'm older and I flip through this, you know? Here's some more pages. I did 4 on this one. This one I go into details because this is the hat, the infamous hat that I have over here. I made it and I gifted it for a baby, and the person threw it away because they were mad at me and they left it on one of the trash cans outside my house so I would find it. Here's some more things. When I have projects like this where I use the same yarn for multiple projects, I just kind of put it all on one page because all of that was the same that I made for some cat toys. I know we still have the fish. I don't know where the other ones are. And so another page I want to share with you is like this one. So this is where I included not only a photo of the project, but also a photo of my stash at that time. And the reason is because this was 6/8/2013. So I was 6 months into my crochet. I had not even began to knit yet. And I made this brooch. I gave the details about the hook I used, about the yarn I used, about the pattern, and then how I added a button to it, and how it was a kit from Simply Crochet magazine. And I wanted to kind of blog about that here, which I did because I loved Simply Crochet magazine so much. When I first joined and subscribed, it was when they first started. So I have volume 1 all the way through several years. I was a subscriber for many years, and I just love them so much. And so I made sure to include information like that in here. Also, I put, during making this, my stash had already started growing, and so I included a photo of my first stash. There it goes. So my first stash was kept in milk crates, and I color coordinated the milk crate to my yarn. That was our homeschool room when I was doing preschool with my boys. And it was a great way to store my yarn for many years. When I say that my yarn has been on open shelving from day one, it literally has. I've never put it in totes. I just keep an eye on it and constantly rotate it, and I've never had issues with bugs. And so also with that first 6 months, I added another little area here for journaling, and I wrote my first 6 months in, and I have fallen in love with string. Somewhere around the 5th of May, I got some knitting straight needles and began learning to knit. I was practicing garter stitches, and this is my first photo of my knitting that I have, because I found that first photo. And so I wanted to document that in here. And so that is right there. And then right here, this photo of Dexter I took while I was knitting on that, so I wanted to include that. The blanket is not something I made, that was a thrift store find, so I also included that information. But I thought having that was kind of interesting because Dexter was part of my first learning to knit, and knitting is so much a joy in my life right now and something that I really cherish. So the fact that he was there to experience that with me is pretty amazing. And so the next entry, I'm going to cover up some pictures of some children's, but right here is where I did my first crochet along. And that's this big striped bag. That was with Sarah Sack of Posh Pooch Designs. She has a YouTube channel. I'm going to tag her down below. But she was my first crochet along all the way back in 6/10/2013. And I made this really big project bag, and I even lined it. And I still use that big project bag today that had all the yarn in it from my Sophie's Universe for all the years that I worked on Sophie's. And I wanted to include that information in there. Also, during that same week is the week that I put my oldest child into kindergarten. And so I even journaled about that a little bit because I spent so many days knitting and crocheting in the pickup line. That is part of my knitting and crochet journey. So that needed to be in here, I thought. I have to get a sip of something to drink. Also, during that same week, it's only been 2 days since my last entry, but I'd already realized how much I love this craft, and I realized that some of those crates of yarn for my stash were full, and so I was already looking into the ways to increase my space of holding yarn for a lot cheaper than trying to locate more crates, because I was able to find those crates at thrift stores and stuff, but they're kind of hard to find, different colors. So that is when I invested in some bookcases from Walmart. And I have a photo that I covered up that has my youngest son, who was probably 2 at the time, in his diaper, and he's helping his daddy build those, and he has a little toy hammer hammering them. And so I wanted to put that in here and journal in here because I just think that's the sweetest thing, that my baby helped build my first craft room. Same kind of process here. I did some squares for donation, and then also during that week I had started really realizing that I needed a way to keep my projects when I traveled, and also to keep them separated, because I think I was just using a big basket or a purse at that time. And as I was watching a bunch of podcasts, I was learning about project bags. And as being someone who kind of knows how to sew, I was like, I can sew me some project bags. Why not? And so I decided to journal about that a little bit. And so I shared a photo of the first 3 project bags that I ever made. And I chose horrible fabric for them because I don't know why. I thought the fabrics were really fun and pretty. I don't know why it's not wanting to focus. There it goes. But they were very silky. This one right here is not that bad, but I didn't have any really good cord for the drawstring, so I used just some ribbon that I had. I still have the bags, actually. I think they're over there, and I still use them occasionally. But I talk about them here, and I talk about where I got the pattern. I talk about the size of them that they were, and how that one with the waviness is really tall, and I made a really big interior pocket for it so I can store my long knitting needles that I was using at the time, because I was using straight knitting needles. And I love having that kind of information in here. Then I have this section where it says, let the knitting begin, because this is at the end of July, the 1st of August in 2013. And I referenced that sample that I knit back there, and it says, moving on from the sample I was doing in garter, the yarn was some horrid, very scratchy Red Heart Super Saver. I set out on an adventure with my first knitting project. It needed to be flat. I have not tried to do in the round yet, and I came across a pattern for Lion Brand. The yarn I chose was Hometown. 8 months into my adventure of yarn, and I have fallen in love with Ravelry already and several podcasts on YouTube. And that's kind of what got me into knitting, was the podcast. Hearing people talk about knitting and showing their knitting along with their crochet sparked my interest and made me want to try it as well. I'm like, if I can do crochet, I should be able to do the knitting thing. And so I wanted to pay homage to those podcasts. And so I listed those podcasts right here. The first ones I listened to was Marley Bird and Yarn Thing. I think Tammy Knitting Purple, who watches this video and this channel. Hi, Tammy. I think she was on that one, or she could have been with Fiber Hooligan, who is Benjamin Alevise. Buffalo Wool was another one. Mr. Ron and Miss T. Loved listening to their podcast, and I even helped name a color of their yarn for them, which was a pretty cool experience. A Homespun House with Molly. I still, to her this day, will binge watch her videos. I'm not part of her Patreon. I really thought about doing it just because I love her yarn so much, and she really inspires me. And I think a lot of it has to do also because she shows a lot of her country, Berlin, Germany, and she talks a lot about some German things, and she'll say the German words, or you can hear her kids speaking German in the background. I think it's because it gives moments of Mama when she would speak in German, and so it's very comforting to me. And so I really love watching her podcast. I'm not gonna cry. The next one is Mustache Podcast, and I'm talking about her original podcast where she sat down with Stephanie. It was Super Steph, and I don't even know if you can find those videos anymore. I think she took them all down, which is really sad because I learned so much about spinning from them too, and about knitting and about color choices in yarn. I really hate that I can't go back and watch those videos. Another one is the Knitting in Circles podcast. That was a husband and wife, Darren and Amy. I really love to watch them as well. Amy always knit these amazing sweaters, and they were constantly traveling in their camper. And I loved listening to them talk about yarn together. I kind of wish my husband was a knitter or crocheter. I would love to share that with him. I can't imagine, we share video games, and I'm very grateful for that. But I can't imagine having that kind of connection with yarn that already is such a strong connection for me, and being able to share that with my spouse. So that is something pretty special, and that's what really pulled me to that podcast. And then another one that I need to add on that just hit me right now was the Bookish Stitcher. I don't know if her videos are still up on YouTube. I know she still has her Instagram. I don't know if she's knitting it as much, but I have a shawl that she knit. And I just really loved her talking about her yarn and her makes. She was dyeing yarn for a little bit, and I have a couple, or it was her or her daughter. She was dyeing the yarn, her daughter were making stitch markers for the yarn. I have a couple of her yarns in my bookcases that are very special. And that's what most of my yarn is, my hand-dyed yarn. It's special because it's made by these podcasters that were such a vital part of my journey, and that I want to have that connection with because they introduced me into this world that has just really filled my life with so much joy. And that first knitting project is this Woodside hat right here that I made from Lion Brand with this awful seam that I'm so embarrassed by. It is so horrible, but I wanted to journal about that. And then my second ever knitting was a hat in black for my husband. And it's so funny because I always talk about how much I hate Magic Loop, but I want to read something that I wrote And this is straight, I think, from my Ravelry page. So you can look it up. And it's also in this original journal. When I make this again, I do not want to do magic loop. I did it on DPNs, and at the end, on the second to the last row, somehow I lost a K2 tog, but I was able to fix it so that it was not noticeable. But again, I hate magic loop. So that is all the way in August. I have been knitting for 2 months, and I realized that magic loop is not for me. It's DPNs all the way. So my second knitted project ever included DPNs and black yarn. So I went in deep and fast. And so I did forget an entry here. This actually I originally started in July. Okay, there we go. And I finished it in September, but I forgot to put it in the July area. So I just made a whole page about it and journaled about it. I made this for my oldest son. He just turned 6, and I made this when I was sitting in the car pickup line. And I'd only been crocheting for 7 months, but I decided to make an amigurumi. And not only did I make an amigurumi, I made a 1.5 foot tall amigurumi Ninja Turtle with a full shell backpack, a mask, elbow pads, and I just think he turned out so cute. I loved him. And so I journaled about putting him together, how the pattern was, and how I actually modified the pattern on my own to make the shell look better with a little bit of flair on it. And it was just a lot of fun. I have my first spinning in here. So my first spinning and a hat that I made from it is this orange. And this was for 2 different knit-alongs. So the spinning was for the Mustache Yarn podcast. They had a spin it for fall not really knit-along, make-along. And then I was able to double dip that for the Knit Girls. They had a fall knit along, so I spun this pumpkin yarn and then knit it into a hat, and I was able to enter both of those giveaways. So I made sure to include information about that. And then because of that mustache yarn, I won some yarn. And so I made sure to stick that yarn down there with the description of how I won and where it came from. And I'm glad that now I have a place to put all this in. And that's why it's been so much fun for me. Like, I've just enjoyed doing this so much. And I'm going to continue to work on that until I get caught up. But I'm hoping to get done with my first year and then start on 2014. I'm hoping to get at least 3 to 4 years per book, because there's so many pages in these, and I don't know. We'll see. I'm probably going to have to take more than 1 page on some projects because there's just so much emotion in some of the projects while I was making them. But we will cross that bridge when we get there. But that is my love right now, is journaling about my knitting and crochet. And like I said, if you're someone who maybe is going through a loss of mojo for your knitting or crochet, maybe starting something like this. You don't have to use the same notebook I use. You can use anything, any kind of notebook. You want to find one, though, that is more sewn in instead of glued in, because the glue will come undone over the years. And you want it to last. Having these kind of bands, I know Walmart sells a pinning gear that's very similar to this, that has this band, and they have really great quality notebooks. But just taking the time to go through even the current projects you have now, if you can't remember your beginning projects, and write down about why you wanted to make it to begin with, and let those memories resonate in you and grow in you and expand and get you excited for your yarn again, because it's a great hobby. It's a great passion to have. We just kind of have to put some time into it to foster it, for it to flourish. Okay, so switching gears, I have a couple of kits I want to share that I found. I showed these in Behind the Skeins. There's not going to be a Behind the Skeins again this week, just because you don't need to see me going through my dresses or my t-shirts. There's just no fun thing in that. But I picked these two things up at Target. They're still in the $5 section at the red spot. There's actually 3 sets. I didn't get the one with the frog, but I got the mushroom and the pumpkin and the acorn and the snail. I thought about starting the snail, but I'm kind of behind on my shawl, so I've got to get my booty in gear on that one and get that done. But they do come with everything that you need to create them. They have the yarn. They apparently have some stuffing. You can kind of see it in the very bottom on this one, but it's like uber flat. So my guess is you're going to need more stuffing. It does even have the eyes, stitch markers, and a crochet hook, and apparently a darning needle. I'm interested in seeing how well the directions are. If you've made these, let me know down below what you thought about them. But I thought they were cute for $5. I picked them up. Also, if you have a Ollie's, you may want to go into your local Ollie's, because I had ran in to look at their crochet books. They sometimes have really good knitting and crochet books there at really cheap prices. And I saw this. This was a closeout. They only had this specific one, but it's this little cute towel holder from the Pioneer Woman. And it was marked down from $15 to $3.99. And so I got one for me and one to give away at my next Worldwide Knit and Crochet in Public event that I hold every year. But it has the towel in it. It has 2 yarn bundles. It appears that they're a DK weight yarn because it says size 3. It comes with a crochet hook. It comes with a sewing needle, 2 buttons, a spool of thread, and the instruction booklet. But for $4, I think they're cute gifts, and I want to make one of these for my own oven, because I remember my grandmother used to have these. And I love the little nostalgic throwback to making something that reminds me of her that I see all the time. So I'm excited to get that made. Now, these are not really kits, but these are just kind of cute things I want to share. You may have seen this little hippopotamus sitting next to me on this table. One of the little youth kids at my church, who is in 6th grade, just got into crochet, like not even a month ago, and about a month and a half ago. And now she has a little booth at a local store, and she does farmers markets, and she's selling her makes. It's the cutest thing ever. But I had to support that. And she had this really cute hippopotamus, and I love this little pink and yellow yarn. But I just thought it was the sweetest little thing. And for her first amigurumi, it's really good. Like, her stitches are really nice. But I'm just so proud of her. And I wanted to support her. And so, Tegan, if you're watching this, I love my hippo. So cute. So he's going to live out here with me. And then another thing I wanted to share with you is something that I actually got a while back when I helped with Vacation Bible School at our church this year, and that is this really cute doll. So I want to tell you about this program from this missionary. Our church chose a missionary group to support this year through donations that the kids brought in through Vacation Bible School. We kind of make it like a little challenge of girls versus boys, and whoever can bring in the most money, they will be the winner, and the adult who's representing them will get to throw a pie in the face of the other group leader. So I think the girls won this year. But part of that, they had a couple of these dolls that they were selling to raise money, and so I bought one to support the girls, but to also support the missionary outreach that we were sending all the donations to. And that is the Seven Rivers Outreach. It's a gospel-driven nonprofit based in the inland south coast of KwaZulu-Natal, South Africa. And so what interests me about one of their outreaches or one of their projects is the doll project, and this is one of the job skill programs of Seven Rivers Knitters, and it's where the local Zuzu women knit handmade dolls out of natural yarns or crafts. They hand make everything, so the pants and the sweaters, everything is made by them. They're about 14 inches tall. These are called handmade buha dolls. It means beautiful one in Zuzu. The project is more than just about crafts, so when they do their meetings, they have a Bible study built into the weekly meeting where the women are learning new skills, knitting, sewing, making patterns, and they're also gaining their own income. It's teaching them community, dignity, and often improving the literary and business understanding with confidence, it says. But it was important for me to support them because I've always had an interest in missions. And I don't know, maybe one day I'll get to go on a missions trip. But I love that they have, not only are they teaching about the Word of God to the Zuzu women, but they're giving them a place to come and learn a craft and create and then make a profit from that so they can go home and take care of their family. And I wanted to be a part of that. And I just love the doll. I think he is so stinking cute. The dolls also have the actual person who made it on there, and it has their favorite Bible verse, but I don't really know what the writing means. So I need to get with our pastor's wife because they have done several missions trips and she knows a lot of the Zuzu language and figure that out. But I love it. I'm so excited to have him. But he is going to be sitting in a little chair out here, and that's where he's been sitting. You may have seen him in the back of one of my videos. But I just look at his little hair. He is so stinking cute. Love the outfit. He even has shoes on, and they even put shoelaces on them. How cute is... Oh, let me move my hand. So I want to share with you the advent calendar I picked out. I kind of alluded to this on a short, but I did get the advent calendar this year from Hobbii, and it's to make an amigurumi by, I think the designer is Paco or something. I'll put it right here because I can't remember. But it comes with this cute little card, and on the back of this card it has a QR code that you scan for the pattern. And then it also comes with these cute little advent stickers, which these are going to go in that journal, and I'm excited that it came with stickers. I love stickers. I'm such a kid when it comes to them. I think that's one of the great things about journaling as an adult is you can still use stickers and it's acceptable. But I really love how this advent calendar was packaged because it is just very, very pretty. You do get the advent in these really nice bags. And this year, I like the bags more than getting cardboard boxes. I didn't get any of the Hobbii Advents in the past because I didn't really know what was in them. And I'd seen some past Advents and I wasn't too amazed by them. If I do ever get Advents, it's usually ones where there's only yarn and it's by a designer or a dyer that I know I'm going to like their yarn dye style. So even if it's colors that maybe are not something I would typically choose, I know it's going to work well with the other colors for the Advent. But this one, each bag is numbered. You get 4 bags. So the way this works is starting on Advent Sunday, which for this year it's November the 30th. This is the first Sunday of Advent for 2025. I would open a bag. So I open bag 1. Then the next Sunday I open bag 2, and then 3, and then 4. And each one of these bags have a different stamp. So 4 is a tree, 2 is a star, 1 is this kind of wreath, and 3 is this kind of wreath. And these are really nice bags that I can reuse for project bags and storage bags. And it says A Winter's Tale, Hobbie's Pick-a-Pal. Okay, that's what it is. Pick-a-Pal is the designer of the thing that I got. So I'm not going to open each bag and look at them because it is an Advent fun thing for me. And I want to do this as part of my Vlogmas. I'm not sure how I'm going to do Vlogmas this year. I don't know if I want to do it on a weekly or on a daily. I don't know. Same with Vlogtober, but I love doing those, and I'm very excited about this year's possibilities because I'm not constricted to time as far as having other responsibilities and taking care of Mamaw. And I miss Mamaw dearly. The fall was her favorite holiday, but I want to do a Vlogmas and a Vlogtober in honor of her because she loved fall and Christmas so much, and I think me decorating and doing that would be a way to honor her. But I just really wanted to show you a sneak peek of bag 1. I'm going to close my eyes. If you do not want to see this, then just close your eyes and listen to my voice, and I'll tell you when you can look back again. But I'm just going to show you a sneak peek for all those who want a sneak peek. I'm hoping this is showing in. That probably is doing it better. If you don't want to see it, you can open your eyes again because I'm no longer showing it. So that is what is in bag 1. I don't know. Obviously, it's some kind of animal or amigurumi. And I'm excited to make that for Advent 2025. So now back to the Cozy Craft Declutter Challenge and this revelation that I had and how it has honestly changed my life. I taught Sunday at church, the college and career girls, and I want to share a verse that I read to them. There's actually 2 verses. Number 1 is 1 Corinthians 1:27. But God chose what is foolish in the world to shame the wise, and God chose what is weak in the world to shame the strong. And that really resonated with me because I realized I have been foolish and I have been weak. When we were younger and we both worked out of the home, we were very wasteful with money. We, before children, would buy whatever we want. We would go on all these vacations, and we just were not very responsible. We didn't plan for the future, and we had to mature in that. We had to learn to be responsible and to be more conscious with how we spent our money. And then when we moved here, we went from 2 of us working outside the home to 1. And so we had a lot of letting go of some of the things that we did, like all the vacations and all the extra spending on things that we didn't need, and definitely on things that we didn't even really probably want. We just kind of fell into the trap of overconsumption because it's just pushed on us everywhere we turn. And over the years, even more so, we've been more conscious with our spending, but we still had moments of weakness and we still have moments of irresponsibility. And as I get close to my 45 birthday, which is in a month from now, I'm just tired of it. And that's what really sparked this. And I know I keep talking about it, but I'm just really tired of wasting time of my life. So that's what really got me wanting to do this, to gain back some of that time, to gain back some of the space, so I can spend my years knitting and crocheting and enjoying things, enjoying my family and time with them, instead of cleaning constantly or doing laundry constantly, because I don't enjoy those things. And out here, it's been pretty easy to let go of things out here. I'm still working out in the closet, but I haven't really got to work out here this week. But even before I moved out here, in the preparation of building this, I'd already start setting things aside because there was mention of me getting a crafting space. And I had a crafting space prior in the house in our old homeschool room. And so a lot of this furniture is just repurposed. Like the bookcase over there, that was in my son's bedroom when he was born. It has been stripped down, and so now it's just the natural wood. My desk is something that I picked up from Target on clearance. It was a display that I had in our bedroom for many, many years, and I paid under $40 for it, and I just repainted it, and it's perfect for out here. But a lot of this stuff is just stuff that's just thrift store finds and little pieces of here and there of my life out here. But when I started to go through yarn, I gave away trash bags, and I'm talking 33-gallon trash bags. I think I got rid of 6 of them of acrylic yarn that people had just given me, or that I just bought at the thrift store because I saw it and it was $1 and I thought $1 yarn, I needed to buy it. But as I've matured in my craft, I learned what I like and what I don't like. And I do like acrylic yarn, but there's only certain brands that I enjoy using because the other stuff is just too rough for me, or I don't like the texture. And now I don't have the desire to buy those. I cannot tell you the last time that I bought acrylic yarn, except for the stuff that I bought for that one certain crochet project that I have planned. I just don't buy acrylic yarn anymore. Ever. I don't care how much on sale it is. I just know I'm not going to use it. I don't even go to the yarn section really of Hobby Lobby or Walmart or Michael's because it's just nothing there that I really want unless I'm looking for like a cotton yarn. But when it came time to go through my closet, that was much different for me. It's much harder for me because that is the clothes I wear every day. And the realization that I had was I was holding on to a person that I'm not anymore. I'm not the 20-year-old skinny girl anymore. I'm a mom. I've been through 2 C-sections. I'm in menopause. I have a broken thyroid. They thought I had thyroid cancer. I have all these things that's happened to me, and I was holding on clothes that don't fit. I found totes that I thought I got rid of decades ago. I found clothes that I had bought and wore when I was an operations manager for Circuit City when I was 20 years old. I turned 45 in exactly a month. Why was I holding on to this stuff? Why was I allowing it to take up space in my life? I don't know. But in the process of going through this, I have found so much freedom where I was having a harder time than before, because I've done closet cleanouts before, prior, not talking about the totes I found, because honestly I thought I got rid of that stuff. But there's several totes. I have several totes of clothes that I'm getting out of my closet. I think I have 6 totes of clothes that I found. Some of those were clothes I put up, they're more winter clothes, but I don't want to have any totes of clothes. I want to have the clothes that are in my closet, and that's it. I don't want to have, I may have one tote to put winter stuff in just because it takes up too much space as far as jackets. But I was holding on to things that I know I'm not going to wear. I know I don't need them, but I think it's a part of us that there's the what ifs. What if I get skinny again? I can wear this. What if times get hard and I need this? But then we're just living in the past. And I don't want to live in the past. I don't want all the weight of that to stifle or to crush my creativity, because that's what it was doing. I constantly felt like I was doing laundry. I was constantly hated putting up clothes in my closet because there was just no room, because in my closet has all my clothes, all my handbags, everything in this one little closet. And I don't want that anymore. I don't want that to fall into any aspect of my life anymore. I don't want to cram stuff in and cover up anything. I want to have things flow. I want to have my life to flow. I want to have my creativity to flow. I want to have my joy in God to flow through my creativity, through my life. And I can't do that covered in stuff. Another verse I want to read to you is from James 1, 2 through 4. Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. I want an abundant life. I want an abundant life where things are slow, where life is slow for me, where I'm not in a rush, where I get to experience my day and be joyful in it. I want to be able to sit and knit and crochet and not have to worry about the laundry, about dusting. I want that stuff to be done like that. And I want to have time with my family. And so that is why it is so important for me to do this challenge, and why it's been such a revelation to what matters for me. And it's really changed how I look at stuff that I was holding on to. It was hard for me in the past when I would do these closet cleanouts. I would still hold on to things thinking I might need that later on. But once I pushed through that, it's changed how I look at them. I no longer have to sit for a moment and think. I look at something and I'm like, no, I'm tossing it. And there is so much freedom in that. There's so much freedom in letting go. Just like I let all the things pile up around me, I let them pile up in my heart, and I let them almost linger and keep me stagnant. This has been a really big trial for me, facing the clothes and the weight gain from all the stuff that's happened in my life. And I think God's using that to motivate me. Every year, and in that journal I showed you, I pick out a word of the year. And this year my word is movement. And I feel like I'm experiencing that movement in my life. And in the way I view myself and in the way I view the things that I do. And it's been beautiful to see unfold. I think he's been using this experience to mature me and to elevate the way that I view my time and the way that I view this channel and even the way that I view how I approach my knitting and crochet and what I want to do with it in the future. It's been a big trial for me coming to terms with the amount of money that I spent on clothes that I no longer am going to be wearing and that I'm letting go of. I think that's one of the hardest things for all of us is the shame that's attached to that. And almost in a way, the body shaming that I was doing, holding on to those clothes. Because I would see those and I would remember back in that day I was skinnier. Or I loved the way that looked on me back then. But life's not about the past. The past is part of it, but it's also about our future. And I let that same body shaming mentality kind of hold on to me and keeping me from knit and crocheting garments, to be honest with you. I realized through this that is why I haven't cast on any sweaters in forever. Or started a Hexie Cardi or any of that. I have been holding on to the what ifs of the past, and it's been stopping me from the possibilities of the future. So I want to encourage you not to brush off this idea of this declutter challenge. You don't have to do it just like I had talked about the video. You can do one thing a day or 5 things a day or 10 things a week and just see how it affects you. See how it affects the space around you. But let it really resonate with you, the letting go of things that do not bring you joy and the things that are holding you back and the things that are stifling your creativity. Let it unfold and let it open up time and joy. I think that's all I have today because my voice is really going at this point. It's really starting to scratch, but thank you so much for joining me on this conversation. I hope you have a wonderful week. There will not be a behind the skeins out this week. I think I already mentioned that, but I'm just happy that you're here with me. I'm happy that I'm sharing these experiences with you. And I'm hoping that you're enjoying this content because this is how I want this channel to go. I want this to be a place of community, a place of building each other up, and a place of discovery about who we are as a community of crafters who are joined together by string. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.